Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Amy. I'm with the WiAA Project, the Women's in Aviation Asia Project. Today, with me, we are so blessed and so lucky to have the esteemed Professor Kim Chua, Director of Student Success from Embry-Riddle. So, Professor Kim, do tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Hello, Amy. Very happy to be featured, and I'm also very honored to be sharing my experiences. So I always ask people, which part of my profile do you want to know? What is that you want to know more about me, right? So professionally, I'm trained as an educational psychologist, um, but my chosen industry is aviation and aerospace. So I wear multiple hats in Embry-Riddle Asia. So one of the hats that I actually wear is that of Director of Student Success. So I'm in charge of initiatives, projects that look at student retention, that look at student engagement, culture, and also making sure that they achieve academic and professional success in their lives. The other hat that I wear is that of a professor. I teach academic writing, I teach technical writing, I teach college success as part of their general education curriculum because we are an American university, so we have a
Mm-mm.
general curriculum, general education curriculum framework. So I toggle between these two roles. The other thing that I do is that I also have a mini project going
Oh,
on the
wow.
side, which is also about getting more women, getting more girls to join the STEM fields, not necessarily just aviation, but just STEM fields in general. Because part of my degree
Mm-hmm.
program was looking at how we can increase and improve female participation in STEM fields. So that's the multiple hats that I wear. In my personal life, I do a lot of water sports. I consider myself a mermaid because I spend a lot of my free time in the water and not in the air. So
Wow.
yeah.
What kind of water sports do you do in is it in Singapore?
Sorry. Oh, I do a lot of paddling, sailing,
Wow.
swimming. Yeah, Singapore is an island, so right now we can't fly, right?
Right, right, right.
Um, what can we do on this island? So I do a lot of water sports. It's always been something that I'm drawn to. Yeah.
Wow, great, great. So, first of all, like, I mean, like, tell us about your journey. Like, how did you get to end up to being Embry-Riddle?
Um, then I have to take you back more than 10 years. So before I joined Embry-Riddle, I had my own social enterprise. So I
Mm-hmm.
had my own social enterprise for 2 to 3 years, whereby I looked at women's coaching programs, getting women to step out of their comfort zone, getting women to be comfortable with economic empowerment. I know that very it sounds very strange that we're talking about this because Singapore is a first world country,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it is not the gender barriers and the enablers are not that clearly articulated.
Yeah.
So this must have been like more than 8 years ago. No, more than 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So in 2011, 2012, I started my own social enterprise. But I faced a lot of obstacles because back then the concept of social enterprise is taking root. People
Right.
wondering, what is this social enterprise? Where do you actually make your money? Is the business model even viable? So that was one. The second thing was the idea behind it. Why do women need special coaching programs? Why is it that the usual coaching model doesn't work? Why do we need special programs for women? Why do women need special mentoring?
Mm.
Why? So I think, and also there was also a lack of awareness
Mm-hmm.
that there are differences in the way women communicate. There are differences in the way women lead. There are also enablers and obstacles. Sometimes, you know,
It's true.
biases,
Yeah.
unconscious biases that we're not aware of. And back then in 2011, 2012, all these things are fairly new. So I faced a lot of awareness in the sense that there was a lot of skeptical, a lot of people were very skeptical about what I was offering, and they said, "No, we don't need. We're just like everybody else. There's no need to have something like this." So I would like to think that back then, that was the journey I had. A lot of skepticism, right? They were skeptical and all that. So this was in 2011, 2012. Even before I started my social enterprise, I was teaching in Singapore Poly. I
Mm-hmm.
was working in the School of Engineering where I was involved in a lot of FYP, final year projects. So I worked with their engineering professors, and I worked with the student project team
Mm-hmm.
members to craft,
Mm-hmm.
to bring their presentations to life, to bring their projects to life, to also make the material less technical and more communicative. So through that, I learned a lot about engineering concepts, and I was actually working with the school, I can't remember, School of Mechanical Engineering, and I can't remember what exactly the name was. It's been so many years.
Yeah.
I spent a good 5 years there teaching engineering students.
Wow.
So yeah, even before that, I was I was heavily involved in STEM education, studying about what it takes to be a STEM educator, and this was in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that it's been a long journey getting me to look at my journey and recounting it to people. Sometimes I do it in the reverse manner.
Do you think like this viewpoint has sort of like changed, or maybe like there's a change and people are more open to it, and
I,
yeah.
you mean like being
it
a woman in
yeah
a man's world?
yeah, exactly, the mindset, and STEM, these STEM subjects, and or leadership even. Yeah, what do you think about today? Do you think there's a difference in that?
I think that people are more aware of the fact that gender is just a construct, right? It is really
Right.
the construct, and at the end of the day, women have been empowered, women have been enabled, but also I think there are many opportunities out there for women to leverage on, just like having access to education. Women have access to education as men do, but I think it's getting them into the STEM fields. STEM fields traditionally have not been appealing to women, and more recently to men as well. So I was talking to a friend of mine.
Hmm.
He's actually teaching in the University of SUTD, and he was
Mm-hmm.
telling me, if you think that STEM fields don't appeal to women and girls, let me tell you this, they don't appeal to men and boys as well. And I found this thing quite mind blowing. He says right now the hot fields are in data. The hot
Mm.
fields are actually in programming, coding,
True,
finance,
true.
banking. These are the hot ones, technology related, right?
Mm.
But that traditional STEM disciplines like engineering, aerospace, they
Yeah.
they just don't appeal, right? So so he was telling me, tell me, we need to sit down together and look at outreach programs for not just girls, but also girls and boys, because they are not enrolling in the programs as well. So I found that quite hilarious. So I think previously it might have been more obvious it wasn't so appealing to girls, but
But
now
now it's a little
it's
bit of
both
both. Right.
girls
So,
and boys. Yeah, and they want to be a YouTube influencer, right? So my nephew
oh,
was,
that's really common these days.
yeah, he says, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be like, what do you want to be? And he says, I want to be a YouTube influencer. I want to be an Instagram influencer. And I'm like,
So what do you think? Because you are an educator in, I mean, basically, Embry-Riddle is an aviation
yeah.
university. So, like, what do you say to younger generation who want to continue to pursue their dreams, especially in aviation, specifically, for females? Do you have female students coming up to you and asking for advice in this industry?
I think that, okay, this is a very interesting question. I'm going to answer it in a few parts. So first of
Sure.
all,
Yep.
I do have female students coming up to me and asking me about employment prospects. So I'm very open about things like this. I tell them, let's put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19 has pushed our industry to a new frontier.
Yes.
Maybe previously innovation, sustainable practices were not emphasized. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's becoming more and more obvious that you cannot not innovate, right?
True.
So maybe traditional roles in aviation have sort of become fewer.
Mm-hmm.
You might need to look at the new pockets of opportunities that are popping up. How are you going to ready yourself for those new roles in aviation that will pop up in the next few months, not even a few years, in the next few months? How are you going to ready yourself? What are some of the life skills, soft skills, hard skills you need to acquire in order to ready yourself for these emerging roles in innovation like aviation technology,
Mm.
right? Because right now, airlines, the aviation industry is talking about passenger differentiation, AI in aviation, talking about the seamless experience, mobile experience for
True.
passengers. How are you going to make sure that you have all those technical skills, not just technical skills, but also the communication and softer skills needed to succeed in a role like this? So that's one. The
Yeah.
second thing, what was the question again?
You know, like how would you, like, because you said, especially in the terms of like employment, like for example, just the classic example, I'm a newly licensed commercial pilot.
Yeah.
And I know many people who are also in the same position as me. We're new pilots, and we actually don't know like where to go in the future. There will also be new students as well that are newly licensed pilots. Where can we go from there? Like, what's the sort of direction? What kind of advice would you maybe like give to someone like me, or your few new students as well?
At the end of
Current
the day,
students.
it's also going back to your core training. So looking also the self awareness component is very, very important. Asking yourself, what are the complementary industries that you could easily segue to, right? So global logistics. Could you take a role in global logistics? Would you consider a role maybe teaching in the flight school or teaching in the ground school? What are your core competencies? What are also your core talents? What is something that you naturally gravitate to? So core competencies are what you learned,
Mm-hmm.
what you have internalized, and core talents would be what you can do without too much effort. So for me, right? So my core competency is in training. My core competency is also in strategizing, or also in writing. So I could segue into things like PR or media. I could segue into things like professional training. I could segue into complementary industries that leverage on your core competencies, experience, and natural talents, and what you're naturally good at, and what you love.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I think also, like, of course, this current situation is not that great, but I still, even for young female aviators out there, like, um, in times will progress, and things will definitely get better. And I still am very hopeful, that even there's no demand, like, I mean, there is demand for pilots, I'm sure, in the in the future years. So, uh, but the only way is currently, like you said, is to just basically um, focus on ourselves and our soft skills and whatnot.
Soft
Correct.
skills, and also understanding what your gap areas
Yep.
are.
Yep.
Understanding, like for me, I need to work a bit more on my ability to perhaps data analysis, data mining. So that's something that I need to work on. So recognizing your gap areas, recognizing that there is always room for improvement, there's always room for growth, there's always room for opportunity. I think that's what we all need to recognize, and recognizing that we are not our jobs.
Yeah.
We are not our jobs. So I've
Yeah.
had so many pilot friends who have obviously not been doing too well in this COVID downturn, and and a lot of it is tied to their reluctance to disassociate from their previous job. Because if you spend the last 30 years of your life being a pilot,
Yeah.
hard to imagine your life in the next 30 years not being a pilot. So I think it's also understanding that because of the circumstances revolving the industry right now, it's also taking a very good hard look at yourself and recognizing that you're more than just a pilot. You
Yes.
are a father, you are a community leader, you are, so much more than that. And when you
Yeah.
recognize that you played multiple roles and you wear multiple hats, that's easier for you to pivot.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
I think that's the only way to do it. And
Yeah.
also, I think we have to take care of ourselves in this very trying times.
Yeah. That's
Mental
true.
health, emotional health is often overlooked. People are so focused on the economics
Yeah.
behind retrenchment, behind unemployment. They don't look at the softer side of the issue, which is how are you taking care of yourself?
That's
How are you
true.
talking to yourself? How are you, comforting yourself? Isn't it? It's all about how are you comforting yourself and telling
Yeah.
yourself you're still worth it, even if you're even if the economic circumstances do not allow it. How are you making sure that your emotional and mental needs are being taken care of day in and day out? Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
So like actually because we are, we're in Asia, we're in Southeast Asia, and unlike the Western world, as we say, uh, there is this conservative mindset that aviation is only for men. So I mean, what would you think about that? Do you think women in Asia, we can be also in aviation?
Let me tell you this: it's not just aviation that has this perception attached to it, but it's also business, right? As recent as 5 years or 10 years ago, people are saying, "Oh, women are not cut out for business, or even leadership roles, or even technology, right? Even tech
Yeah,
roles. Women are not suited for that. Our brains are not hardwired that way." But I know that's not true. That's not entirely true. So I think that at the end of the day, it's also about understanding yourself. What are your core competencies? All right. What are your natural talents? What are your passions in life? What do you naturally gravitate to? Right.
yeah. So
So
it's okay to like mechanical things. It's okay to like science.
yeah, it's
It's
okay
okay to
to
be a
like the newest
businesswoman.
iPhone, right? It's okay to
Yeah.
like the newest toy. That's nothing, and that's something that is changing, because you also see that right now we are talking about gender neutral toys or for kids,
Yeah.
especially for kids. I think a lot of the perceptions that we have about gender roles comes
Yeah.
from our very early days of socialization. How do we socialize with our family members? How do we socialize with other members of the community? What does the media? What do the media images tell us?
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
So I think a lot of that, and once parents understand that, then they start being more mindful of the messages they are telling their children. So
The
when I was
children.
growing up, I grew
Yeah.
up with a lot of boys. I was the only girl in the family, and my cousins were all boys, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
was playing marbles, playing street football. I didn't think that it was not normal. But when
Yeah.
I went to school and my girlfriends were doing different activities, and I felt, maybe that's a bit different. So I thought that it was kind of cool that my family introduced me to more boys
Yeah, boy
activities.
type of more active type of.
I've
gain.
always been very active, right? So I've always been very active. I'm always the one turning up to school with dirty skirts and maybe dirty noses. Yeah, unruly hair. So I've always been the one.
So yeah,
For the for the for the aircraft taking off.
no, actually, so it means that you actually live next to the airport. I think that's really cool because I love the sound.
I live near the airbase, actually, very near
Oh,
the airbase. So around this time, they start doing their drills and they start, yeah, it's quite fascinating. So during
that's so
the circuit
nice.
breaker,
I
I had
could I
students
could hear this sound the whole day.
I know, right? So I'm always, and my students tell me, Kim, focus. Why are you not focused on us? I said, oh, I'm just listening to the aircraft taking off. So
It's
they went,
so beautiful, right? The sound is so beautiful. It's like music to my ears.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I thought you might like that as
Yeah,
well.
you're so blessed to stay there. So anyway, like this whole COVID thing has definitely impacted all of us. There's no doubt about it. So I mean, like, what do you think? Do you think this has impacted the passion or the drive for some women, especially? I know overall it might have, but what do you think about aviation associations like this? For example, the WiAA project. Do you think it would help in any way?
I think I think that COVID has affected both males and females, and not just females. But I think that it is also it just confirms one thing: the problems that we have in the world right now. Whether is it finding a vaccine, whether is it finding a cure for cancer, whether is it finding the solution to climate change and global warming, you can't segmentize you can't segmentize talents. You can't exclude gender from the equation. What if the next cure, I'm not talking just about vaccine, but what if the cure for cancer or the cure for COVID-19 is in the brain of a female scientist, right? And
Right.
we know that we need all hands on deck. We need all the talents, all the resources, all the wonderful brains out there that we can have access to have a chance at getting out of this alive. So I think it's important not to exclude, to be as inclusive as possible. And right now aviation is at the crossroads, right? We, like I mentioned earlier, we have no choice but to innovate. We've been pushed into innovation because aviation has traditionally been held back by regulatory measures. We are very focused on safety, we're very focused on security. So changes traditionally have been very slow, right? We tend to be a more conservative kind of industry, unlike maybe banking or retail or e-commerce, right? So but now it's been demonstrated that we have no choice but to innovate
It's
at
true. It's true.
breakneck, a very breakneck speed. Like it or not, you have to innovate. You cannot not innovate. So I think that innovators, we should not make a distinction between male or female. It should be gender neutral. If you are an innovator, your heart is in the industry, ask yourself what value can you add to the industry? What can I contribute to the whole discussion of innovation? Yeah, what can I bring to it, to the table?
Yeah, so fun fact, actually the women's project, the Women's in Aviation project was actually innovated during this time of COVID-19. And so we are currently membership is actually open to everyone who are interested in aviation. So
Mhm.
do feel free to check us out. We're going to have a link somewhere in the description and you feel free to join us.
I think that's
So
great. So I think that it is like what, like out of great adversity is opportunity is born. I think it's great that you guys have taken this and ownership of it and made this project out of something that is quite terrible. I mean, as in COVID-19 is
yeah,
terrible, but you
yeah,
have taken this and innovated it, right? So that's
yeah.
wonderful.
And we're hoping to do more. We're hoping to do more programs for women or whoever who are interested in aviation. We're hoping to do more videos and engagement stuff. So if anyone who is watching this out there and you're interested and you want to know more information, do let us know, or if new project ideas, whatever. So anyway, before we end here, Professor Kim, do you have a quote for us that has inspired us throughout your life?
Throughout my life, I think it's very seasonal. So depending on which part of my life you're talking about, different quotes have spoken to me. But in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, because I spent a lot of time in Hawaii in 2018,
Oh, wow.
and the Hawaiians have a saying that up to today, I think it still resonates with me, and I get all warm and fuzzy in my heart when I recall that quote, and that is, "If you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain." So in Hawaii, it's very common. It's very um, common to see rainbows, but it
Mm-hmm.
always happens after a rain.
Of
And
rain.
and
Wow.
Hawaiians are very natural, nature loving, spiritual people and loving people. And they tell me, if you want the rainbow, you look at the rainbow and you think to yourself, oh, that's a beautiful creation of nature.
Yeah.
But if you want the rainbows, you got to put out with the rain.
Put
That's
up the
part of the deal.
rain. Yeah.
Part of the
Yeah.
deal, right? So I
Wow.
like to think that we should not waste a good opportunity to transform the industry. The time is now. We have no choice anyway. So let's let's take this rainmaking season for the industry and transform it so that when we emerge from COVID-19 crisis, we'll be stronger, we're more resilient as an industry, we're more robust as an industry. So that's what I would like to see after COVID-19, post COVID-19. So that's my hope and my rainbow for the industry.
Wow. That's so amazing. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kim. So there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, female aviators. Remember, right now we're in the rainy season, but after the
Yeah.
rainy season, we will have our
Well,
rainbow.
we have to hang on to that. We have to. Not too
All
far
right.
off.
Yep, definitely. All right. Well, thank you. We'll see you again soon.